You probably haven't called your grandparents this week. Don't feel bad. It's not really your fault. You were born into the first societies in human history actually built to keep you away from them. For thousands of years, the oldest person in the group wasn't a burden. They were the most valuable person alive. They ran the show. They held the knowledge. Tribes didn't tolerate their elders. They depended on them. So what changed? Why did we go from honoring elders to hiding them in a building 3 towns over? Let's start with the receipts. Anthropologists studying hunter-gatherer groups like the Hadza in Tanzania found something that broke the old assumption that elders were just extra mouths to feed. They watched grandmothers in their 50s, 60s, 70s spend their entire day foraging, not resting, working, harder than some of the younger women. And the data backs it up. Researchers found that having a grandmother around, somewhere between ages 50 and 75, boosted a toddler's chance of surviving childhood by around 30%. 30%. That's not a nice bonus. That's the difference between your bloodline continuing or ending. But it wasn't just food. It was memory. Before writing, the only hard drive a tribe had was its oldest members. If a drought hit that only happened once every 50 years, the 20-year-olds had never seen one. They had no idea what to do. But the 80-year-old, she'd survived it before. She knew which roots stayed edible when the rivers dried up. She knew which valleys still held water when every other one turned to dust. That knowledge wasn't a fun fact. It was the entire emergency plan. And it lived in one place, an old person's brain. So elders weren't kept around out of kindness. They were kept around because losing them meant the tribe might not survive the next disaster. And it wasn't only about food and droughts, it was every piece of skill a tribe owned. How to set a broken bone, which plant calmed a fever, and which one killed you, where the river ran safe to cross in flood season. None of that was written anywhere. It lived in stories, repeated out loud generation after generation by the oldest voice in the room. Lose that voice, and you don't just lose a person, you lose an entire library that took 80 years to write and 0 seconds to erase. Now here's where it starts to fall apart. The first crack didn't come from cruelty, it came from a machine. The printing press. Once books could hold knowledge, you didn't need a living person to remember the drought, the cure, the family history. You could just read it. The hard drive got copied onto paper, and suddenly the smartest person in the room wasn't always the oldest one. But that was just the warning shot. The real hit came 200 years later with the Industrial Revolution. Picture a farm. A grandfather can't outrun a horse, but he can still mend a tool, manage the crop rotation, watch the kids. He's slower, not useless. Now picture a factory. Factories didn't want wisdom, they wanted speed, strength, and long shifts on your feet. The moment work moved from the field to the machine, older bodies got physically locked out of the economy. So once you can't produce, in a system that only measures your worth by what you produce, you become a cost, not a contributor. That single shift in mindset is still running our whole society today. You could actually watch that mindset get built into the architecture of America brick by brick. Before the 1800s, getting old basically meant living with your family until you died. There wasn't another option on the table. Then almhouses showed up, government-run group homes for anyone who couldn't work, the poor, the sick, and the elderly, all packed in together. Conditions were brutal. So by the late 1800s, churches and community groups started building separate homes for the aged just to get elderly people out of those almhouses. Sounds caring on paper, but notice what actually happened there. Aging had officially become a category that needed its own building, not a stage of life you lived through surrounded by family, a problem you got sorted into a facility for. By the 1960s, federal programs like Medicare started funding that system at full scale, and the modern nursing home industry exploded almost overnight. What started as small-scale charity quietly turned into a multi-billion-dollar business. Then technology kept accelerating, and it made things worse in a sneaky way. Your grandfather's 30 years of trade experience used to be priceless. Now, software updates every 18 months. The old way of doing it isn't respected anymore. It's just outdated. So picture how fast this happened. For literally all of human history, age equaled authority. Then in about 2 centuries, age started equaling expiration date. Okay, you might be thinking, fine, the economy changed, but why does grandma have to live 3 states away in a facility instead of just down the hall? That part's even sadder, and it's mostly about square footage and geography. In 1900, multi-generational homes were normal. 3 generations, 1 roof. By 1940, that had already slipped to about a quarter of homes. By 1980, it had cratered to barely 12%. Cities pulled young people away from farms and into factory jobs, and the homes built for factory workers were small. No room for grandma's chair in a 1-bedroom apartment. Then add hypermobility. Careers now demand you move for a job, a degree, an opportunity across the country, sometimes across an ocean. Your great-grandparents lived and died in the same village as their parents. You might live 4 time zones away from yours. So now picture the math. The job took the elderly out of the workforce. The factory took the family out of the farmhouse, and the economy took the kids out of the same zip code as their parents. That's 3 separate forces all pointing the same direction. Isolation. And here's the part nobody talks about. This didn't just hurt the elderly, it created a second crisis on the opposite end. Grandparents used to be free, built-in childcare. Low stakes, no stress, no discipline pressure, just patience and presence. Take that away and suddenly 2 exhausted parents are carrying the entire psychological weight of raising kids alone with 0 backup. That's a massive reason burnout rates for parents have exploded. The safety net wasn't replaced, it just vanished. And the psychological cost doesn't stop there either. When you almost never see aging happen up close, slowly, naturally in your own living room, aging stops looking like a normal part of life. It starts looking like a cliff edge. Psychologists studying something called terror management theory have linked that disconnect to higher anxiety around death itself in young and old people alike. On top of that, when the only people you interact with all day are young, fast, and productive, that becomes your definition of normal human. So wrinkles, slower walking, hearing aids, all of it starts to feel foreign instead of familiar. That's exactly the kind of distance researchers tie to higher rates of ageism toward older adults. There's a quieter cost, too. Empathy isn't something you're just born with at full strength. It's a muscle, built through actually being around people who move slower, hear differently, or need help with things you take for granted. Cut that contact, and the elderly stop being people. They turn into a statistic, an abstract other instead of an actual person. And here's a twist almost nobody mentions. Modern medicine basically doubled how long humans live. That sounds like only good news, but it created its own problem. More people now live long enough to develop serious conditions, advanced dementia, severe mobility loss, that genuinely need around-the-clock professional care. A family working 2 jobs just can't safely provide that alone, no matter how much they love that person. So aging quietly got rebranded from a normal life stage into a medical condition that needs a clinical building, not a living room. Stack that on top of everything else, and you get a culture obsessed with looking young. Open any app and the algorithm rewards youth, speed, and physical perfection. Wrinkles and slower movement basically never make it onto your feet. So when you barely see real aging up close, your brain quietly assumes youth is the default human state forever. That's a big part of why anti-aging products are a massive industry, and why getting older feels less like a normal milestone and more like a personal failure. And without elders constantly reminding you that hard times have happened before and people survived them, younger generations lose what some psychologists call a sense of deep time. The illusion that right now, this exact moment, is the only one that has ever mattered, and that nothing before it really counts. So let's zoom out. None of this happened because people got colder or stopped loving their families. It happened because a printing press replaced memory, a factory needed speed, an apartment replaced a farmhouse, and a career replaced a village. Each shift made total sense on its own, but stack them all up and you get a society that quietly optimized its oldest, most experienced members straight out of daily life. And the wildest part? We're the only ones who did this. We built a system that needs elders biologically and psychologically, and then built a culture that has almost no room left for them. So here's your one task. Today, not this week, today, call the oldest person in your family, not a text, an actual call. Ask them one question about something hard they survived. Because that knowledge, that deep time thing we talked about, it's not stored on a server anywhere. It only exists in their head. And once it's gone for good. No backup, no cloud save, no second copy. If this kind of, wait, that's actually messed up history hits different for you, subscribe right now for more.